Sarcasm is the human body's natural defense against stupidity. Today, in this episode of An Old Man's Slide into Senility, I am going to show you the new BTech GMRS V2. V2. I will tell you what's good about the new GMRS V2, and I am going to tell you why the release of the new GMRS V2 has probably been the biggest launch failure, the biggest failure of a new product launch in the 190-year history of GMRS radios. The cost for the new GMRS V2 GMRS radio is $70. Affiliate link below. And BTech did not send me this radio. I bought this radio all by myself from Amazon using money from my paying YouTube members. Those are the viewers that like my channel so much, they put their money where their mouse is and they clicked the join button below. BTech, pronounced BTech, is based in the United States, but the radios are made at the Bufwang child slave labor camp in China. So this radio is basically a Bufwang with a BTech sticker on it, but because BTech is based in the United States, when you buy a BTech radio, such as the new BTech GMRS V2, it ships from the United States, and if you have problems, you get support from someone in the good old US of America. And for those interested, BTech is a Christian-based company. So when you purchase the new BTech GMRS V2 GMRS radio, in the box you will receive a user manual. The user manual is written in very good, if not perfect, English. It explains everything that the radio can do and why you would want to do it. You can tell a lot about a radio by how much time and effort the manufacturer puts into the manual. And BTech put a lot of time and effort into this manual. It is a very good manual. However, it does have one very big glaring mistake right on page 1, where it says, "Thank you for your purchase of the GMRS V2. This GMRS radio with UHF VHF scanner channels will deliver you secure, instant, reliable communications." And while the communications may be instant and will probably be reliable, the communications are not and will not be secure in any way, as there is no security in GMRS. There's nothing secure or private about using a GMRS radio. Other than that, this is a very good manual. You will receive a belt clip. Contrary to some of the fake online reviews that I have read, it is not metal, it is made of plastic. Very good, stiff, durable plastic. And the belt clip affixes directly to the radio, not to the battery, so that if you change the battery, the belt clip stays on the radio, unlike many other radios. You will receive this very handsome wrist strap for affixing to the radio at one end and connecting the other end to any appendage on your body of your choosing. You will receive this earpiece microphone kludge of wires. One end connects into the radio, the other end somehow connects to your ear, and it has dual push-to-talk buttons. This headset comes with many of the Chinese type radios. It is very cheap and it probably won't last long, but it is good fun to play with until it breaks. You will receive a battery charging cradle for charging the battery for the radio. You will also receive an AC adapter. One end plugs into the charging cradle, and the other end goes into the holes that you find on the walls in your house. You will receive a battery. Upon close inspection, you will see that it is an 1800 milliamp hour battery, and this battery is interchangeable with the GMRS V1, which is the older version of this radio. You will receive an antenna tuned for the GMRS frequencies, and you will receive the BTech GMRS V2 GMRS handheld walkie-talkie. Much like the GMRS V1, the radio feels very sturdy. It is a good feeling radio. It does not feel cheap or plasticky. And almost forgot. Oh my God, that was so good. Sorry, where was I? It has a stiff on-off and volume knob, which is very good so that you don't accidentally bump it and turn the radio off or turn the volume down. It also has this little guard to help it from being bumped accidentally during vigorous activities. It has a flashlight. It has transmit and receive LEDs. It has a SMA male antenna connector for use with the SMA female antenna. It has dual push-to-talk buttons because this radio can monitor 2 channels at once. I'll show you more about that in a minute. It has an upper frequency line and a lower frequency line like many radios. When you press the upper button, it transmits on the upper frequency. When you press the lower button, it transmits on the lower frequency. It has 2 programmable function buttons, and on each you can program it to do something on either a long press or a short press. So that gives you 4 programmable functions you can accomplish with those 2 buttons. It has a standard K-type connector for plugging in the rinky-dink little earpiece that it comes with, or for using with a programming cable to connect to your computer. The battery slides on and off fairly easily. And as previously mentioned, the belt clip connects to the radio itself, not to the battery like on some radios. The belt clip goes there. The radio is marketed as a GMRS radio and dual band scanning receiver. That means it can receive UHF and VHF frequencies and transmit only on GMRS channels. So the frequency range that the radio can receive or listen to is 136 to 197 MHz and 400 to 520 MHz. It can receive only on those frequencies, and of course, it can transmit on receive on all of the standard 22 GMRS channels and repeater channels. It comes with NOAA channels, the NOAA weather channels, preset on channels 193 through channels 199, and contrary to online reports saying that it does not receive NOAA channels, it receives NOAA channels just fine when you have an antenna on it.
Temperature was 63 degrees.
The radio can also receive commercial FM channels.
These generations, it takes time for these things to take place, but I was just very proud as a parent.
And as you can hear, the FM radio does work, contrary to online reports saying that FM radio does not work or that the radio does not come with the chips required for commercial FM. It works just fine. If you're listening to FM radio and a transmission comes in on whatever frequency you were on before you switched to FM radio, the radio will automatically switch back to that GMRS channel or NOAA channel so that you can hear that transmission. And then when that transmission is complete, it will switch back to FM until you switch it back to regular radio mode. The GMRS V2 GMRS radio is not a super heterodyne receiver. It is an SOC or direct conversion receiver, also known as a homodyne receiver. Homodyne. Look it up. This means that it is more prone to static and bleed over from strong signals on other frequencies, but it also means that it is not as expensive as a superheterodyne radio. The radio does do split tones, and it can do multiple repeaters on the same frequency with different tones. It can do dual monitoring, meaning that it can listen to two different frequencies at the same time, one on the top line and one on the bottom line, and as some people will point out, it does not do true dual monitoring. There are not two receivers inside, but to any normal person with normal ears, it will sound and feel as though it is listening to two channels at the same time. When you're doing the dual monitoring, as previously mentioned, it has the dual push-to-talk buttons, so that, for example, if you had the top line on GMRS channel 3 and the bottom line on GMRS channel 5, when you press the top button, you would talk on GMRS channel 3, and when you press the bottom button, you would talk on GMRS channel 5, or whatever the bottom line is. The dual push-to-talk buttons and the whole dual monitoring feature can be disabled for the simple-minded. As you can see, I do have the dual monitoring disabled because I am a simple-minded person and I can only listen to one thing at once. And instead, I have the display sync enabled so that when I change the channel, it will always show me the GMRS channel name on the upper line, and the lower line will show me the frequency. That is what the experts call display sync, or synchronization, a feature that many radios cannot do. The radio can store 200 channels for things like custom repeaters or non-GMRS frequencies to scan through, and the Amazon page says that the radio can transmit up to 5 watts, and I will test that power output momentarily. The radio has an IP54 rating, which means that it is not waterproof, really at all. You could splash it a little bit, you could probably use it in the rain, but do not take it in the bathtub with you. The radio has no VFO button. VFO is the mode that you go into to directly enter a frequency. This radio does not have a button to switch into VFO mode. To get into VFO mode, you must turn the radio off. You must then hold the menu button and turn the radio on.
Frequency mode.
Thusly, you will then be in VFO mode so that you could manually enter any frequency within the range that the radio can receive. You just type it in. The radio will stay in VFO mode until you do the same procedure. You must turn the radio off, press and hold the menu button,
Channel mode.
and turn the radio back on. Another very nice feature of this radio is that the buttons are illuminated. So when the backlight comes on, the buttons actually light up. Allow me to demonstrate. As you can see, the numbers and little icons on the buttons all light up. Many radios do not do that. That is a very nice feature. The radio comes pre-programmed with all of the basic standard 22 GMRS channels and the basic 8 repeater channels, and you can change that programming and change pretty much all of the settings, almost all of the settings, directly on the radio by making use of the keys and the menu button. So there is no need for a computer unless you want a custom power on message or you want to put custom names into your channels. Then you will need the Chirp software and a programming cable. As previously mentioned, it takes the standard K1 type connector cable, same type that you use on a Baofeng UV5R or pretty much any radio with a standard K1 type connector. A cable like this costs $22. Affiliate link below. But as I mentioned, if you are willing to read the manual and invest a few minutes, you can do pretty much everything on the radio itself. And yes, this radio does have a Roger beep, but it does not have a side tone for the Roger beep. A side tone is a sound that comes out of the speaker when the radio does something. So when this radio emits its Roger beep, you can't hear it because it goes out over the air only. So the people at the other end of your transmission get to enjoy the Roger beep, but you do not. As I mentioned previously, BTech says this radio outputs up to 5 watts. Notice the wording up to 5 watts. So I have my very fancy Farzometer 2000 to test the power output to see how true that is. So I will connect the GMRS V2 radio using my high-quality Messi and Poloni coax patch cable to the Farzometer 2000, which will tell us how many RF electricities are being output when I press the transmit button. That will be displayed here in the upper right. You will also see a large number here, which will be the SWR. That will not be a valid SWR reading because we do not have an antenna connected. We have a dummy load. So I will place the radio on GMRS channel 1. I'm going to press the transmit button and we will see how many RF electricities are coming out. 5.40 watts. That's pretty good. We'll go to a higher channel, GMRS channel 22. Make sure that we're on high power. When it's on low power, you see the little L there. We are now on high power as indicated by no L right there. I will press the push to talk button again. And let's see how many RF electricities come out this time. 5.40 again, which is very good. Most radios do not output the same power across the entire band. Most radios will have a different power output on a low frequency that they have on a high frequency. This is actually very good. We'll now go to a repeater channel, which will transmit at even a higher frequency. And let's see what we get. 5.27 watts. Now let's bear in mind that the Farzometer 2000 is not the most accurate and perfectly designed equipment that you can buy, but when comparing it to other meters, it is very close. And the Farzometer 2000 has confirmed that the BTech GMRS V2 is outputting pretty much the same amount of power across the entire GMRS band. That is very good. But the big question is, how many FARs does it talks? So to test the FARs, I'm going to connect to 2 of my favorite repeaters. One of them is located 30 miles away in that direction. Let's see if we can hit that repeater. If I am able to hit it, you'll hear a little kerchunk back. So let's give it a try. That little kerchunk, that static, was that repeater responding to this radio 30 miles away. And yes, I know it is rude to kerchunk repeaters. Nobody said I was not rude. I will now try to connect to another repeater, which is 69 miles away. 69 miles, that is the actual distance in roughly that direction. And I will do the same thing. I will very rudely kerchunk the repeater by keying up and then letting go and seeing if we hear that static, that squelch tail back. Let's see what happens when we try to connect to that repeater 69 miles away. This radio is able to hit both of those repeaters, one at 30 miles away and one at 69 miles away. That is very many FARs. Now to test the radio from radio, from one handheld walkie-talkie to another handheld walkie-talkie, I have my friend Chris, who lives 10 miles away in that direction. But unfortunately today, Chris is too busy to talk to me because he is out volunteering with blind children today, teaching them how to paint. And Chris can do this because Chris speaks Braille. But I was able to talk to him the other night, and we were able to talk from this radio to a similar handheld radio that he has at his house 10 miles away. No problem, a little staticky, pretty much the same as every other 5-watt handheld walkie-talkie that I've tested. However, it is very important to remember that I live upon a hill, and Chris lives in the valley. down below. And because of this, we have very good line of sight so that my radio is able to see basically his radio with very little in between me and him. There are some houses and there are some trees, but not very many. So we have very good line of sight. My point is that your FARs, how far you can talk, depends on what is between you and the other radios. In other words, your FARs may vary. Now allow me to take a moment and explain to you the story of how BTech totally bungled and botched the release of this new radio. Out of the box, channels 1 through 7 were set to narrowband. Now channels 8 through 14 must be at narrowband only per the FCC and their stupid rules, but channels 1 through 7 may be, can be, and should be set at wideband. Out of the box, they were all set at narrowband. That's not a very big deal. It's very easy to fix. You could even do it right on the keypad in just a couple of minutes. But the second issue is a much larger, more sinister problem. Out of the box, none of the GMRS channels, well, one GMRS channel, basically none of the GMRS channels worked. That is a problem. Out of the box, it came with every channel pre-programmed to GMRS channel 8. The label said GMRS channel 1, GMRS channel 2, all the labels were correct, but every time you transmitted or tried to listen, all you received was channel 8, no matter what channel you were on. So in other words, out of the box, when you turn it on, all of the labels were correct. It would say you were going through channel 1, channel 2, whatever, but all you would hear and all you would transmit on is channel 8. And this, for most people, would be a cause of much confuculation and rage. And doing a factory reset will not fix the problem unless you have line A, the upper line of those two frequencies, upper and lower. You can only fix it by doing a factory reset if line A is selected. You then go into the menu and select menu number 45 and do a reset all. It will not work if you have line B selected. Allow me to demonstrate. So if you have line B selected, as you can see by the little caret or the little arrow on line B on the lower line, if you have line A selected, the little arrow will be up there. If you had line B selected and then you try to go into the menu and do a reset all, it will not work. You must be on line A and then go into menu and then select reset all. Once you do that, everything works fine. As I mentioned, this can be the cause of much rage and confuculation. And because I couldn't find any other reviews on YouTube of this radio, I did not know this, and I was the victim of much rage and confuculation. So I sent a very nasty email to BTech support, and BTech's tech support, based in America, quickly replied, telling me that I had to be on line A, as I just demonstrated, and then do a reset. And that did work, turning this radio into an actual working GMRS radio. The response from BTech was so quick, in fact, it seemed automated, as though they've been getting a lot of complaints about this. So it is an easy fix, but that is a major, major screw up. So should you buy the new BTech GMRS V2, or should you upgrade if you have a GMRS V1?